Hello and welcome back to the channel once again, where today we are back with another video. Today we are on to part 5 of the Classic Cars and Motorsports series, once again using the F1 2017 Classic content. And today we move on to what is personally one of my favourite cars in motorsport history, as it is one of the times that I remember being really into the sport, and I've got a bit of a connection to this car personally because of that. But before we get on to the car in question, I just want to say once more, as always, thank you once again for watching. If you do enjoy what you're watching, do hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well. If you want to see some more content, we still have another few parts to go within this series yet. And obviously don't forget to comment below of anything else that you want to see, or any of your own memories of this car that we're talking about today. But the car in question today is from the 1996 season. It is the car that took a son of a world champion to a world championship of his own, and is the car and driver combination that spawned the infamous line from Murray Walker of "and I've got to stop because I've got a lump in my throat." Yes, of course it is the Williams Renault FW18 that took Damon Hill to that World Championship in 1996. Powered by a 3-litre Renault V10, pushing out 750 horsepower, around about 14,500 RPM, Renault once again positioned himself with the best engine on the grid, and Williams with the design guru Adrian Newey at the helm still at this point, proving once again to have the best aerodynamics in the grid. The car was dominant, most of the season. The Hill had been retained for a 4th season, and he was joined this year by a rookie driver, a particular Canadian by the name of Jacques Villeneuve. Now, most people will, at this point, didn't know who Villeneuve was, apart from the fact that he was the son of the late great Gilles Villeneuve from the late 70s and early 80s. But Jacques himself was coming to the sport with his own collection of trophies. He was the defending kart series champion in America, 1995 kart series champion, and he was also the Indy 500 winner as well from 1995 also. So it wasn't a case of having a poor teammate, but most people thought Damon would be able to control it, being the team leader, and that Jacques would struggle to adapt from the American Open Wheel Series into the world of Formula 1 with its additional technological advances and aero effects. But how wrong were those critics, because at the first race in Australia, the Williams team took a 1-2 on the grid, as you would expect it to do, of course. But it was Jacques on pole position. Villeneuve took the pole from Hill himself and looked to be on his way to victory at the opening race in Melbourne. First time they'd actually raced in Melbourne as well, having moved from Adelaide. Until he ran wide at turn 1, crossed the grass, and it caused an oil leak. And it was noticeable because it was sprayed all over the rear wing and all over Damon's car. The team instructed Villeneuve to slow down. That allowed Damon through, and he took the win in the first race. But the precedent had been set early doors there with that performance from Villeneuve at the first race. Now, 96 was also a season of change. There was the aerodynamic changes, the first full year of these changes taking effect, new driver protection around the cockpit. Also had the driver sitting lower down as well. Adrian Newey managed to get that. That helped the centre of gravity and improved the handling as well from the car. And this was what then obviously allowed the car to be so quick in the season. In fact, despite the fact they shared engines with the Benetton team, once again, Benetton with the defending champions, and with John Alesi and Gerhard Berger at the wheel, and we mentioned him last episode, you might remember, with the Ferrari 412, they couldn't get close. They were podium and points paying positions regular, but they were unable to win. Ferrari, transitional season, first year with Michael Schumacher. The 3-110 was not quick. It was plagued with some reliability issues, especially for Eddie Irvine. And this, along with the dominance that this Williams car had, the FW18, just amplified everything even more. In fact, it took until Monaco before anyone other than a Williams won. Hill took the first 4 races, Villeneuve winning the other at the European Grand Prix at the Nürburgring, taking just 4 races to get to his debut win. Monaco was that crazy race in 1996 where Olivier Panis won his one and only Grand Prix for Ligier, the last win for Ligier, and it was a race that only 3 drivers finished. The entire race, both Villeneuve and Hill retired. Hill blowing up coming out of the tunnel as he tried to emulate his father in winning in Monaco. It wasn't to be. But after that, Hill then obviously spun out at Catalonia as well, but Hill was leading by 25 points as they hit the British Grand Prix. This is where I admit to being a bit of a young child fanboy almost. Obviously I was rooting for Hill. I was only about, what would I have been, about 9 that year, 8-9 years old. And I remember watching the British Grand Prix and being quite sad and disappointed when the wheel bearing issues caused him to crash into cops, and Villeneuve took the win that day. But yeah, this is one of the reasons I have a connection to this car, because I remember seasons before this. I remember watching races from 93, 94, 95 as a younger boy. I remember Imola 94 especially, and back in my mind it's ingrained. But this was the first season I really remember an awful lot about the season. And it was, the back and forth between Hill, elder statesman of the grid almost by this point, even though he'd only been in the sport since 92. Villeneuve as the rookie coming across from America, trying to do the opposite of what Nigel Mansell had done previous. It was fascinating to watch the back and forth. I mean, you threw in Schumacher trying to bring Ferrari back to its past glory despite a bit of an ill-handling car and reliability issues. It was a great season, and we get into the tail end of the year, and Hill could have won the championship at Monza, my apologies. If he had won, Villeneuve finished 5th or lower. But that year they'd put tyres at the chicane, the old first chicane. It was a left-right, it was a double left-right. And Hill clipped him after about 6 or 7 laps, and it put him out of the race. Schumacher would actually win that race. One of 3 races he won that season for Ferrari. But Villeneuve finished outside the points, so if only Hill had kept going, he would have won the title that day. So the next race took us to Estoril in Portugal, and if anyone's not seen it, search Villeneuve overtakes Schumacher Portuguese Grand Prix 1996. It goes round the outside of the final corner. It's almost like the Parabolica, but as a long 180 degree corner. And then just as he's got to then dart out to the right as well to pass a back marker at the same time. It's just absolutely total commitment. Villeneuve took the win, and it then set up the showdown in Suzuka, in place of many a showdown. Now Hill had the advantage, he was 9 points clear, so Villeneuve needed to win and hope for an issue for Damon. Hill just needed to see the car home. Many thought though the pressure was getting to Damon. This is his 3rd attempt in a matter of years trying to win. Lost out to Schumacher the last couple of times. There'd been a public breakdown in team relations at Williams as well, after they decided not to re-sign Hill for 1997, opting to go for the German driver Heinz-Harald Frentzen. And this was played out quite publicly as well. And then when Villeneuve took pole position, everyone thought, here we go, they could be chucking it away again, who knows. Obviously, we're only looking at it from the outside. But they got away. Hill got the lead at the start. Villeneuve had a poor start. Scary moment for Hill when Berger nearly hit him, trying to pass him into the chicane. Broke the front wing. Hill got away. Villeneuve was working his way back through the field, but then he had a wheel fail. The rear wheel actually came off going into turn 1. and he was out the race, and that was it. Hill was champion, and he brought it home for the victory. And obviously that's when Murray uttered those famous words that most people still remember. But it meant that Damon had won the championship that eluded him because of Schumacher. It meant he had emulated his father in being a champion. The first time a father and son had won the championship. That was then to be repeated when Nico Rosberg won the championship in 2016, emulating his dad Keke, who won it back in the early mid-80s. But this was the last time that second last time, that Williams would be winning championships. They won the next season with Villeneuve, 97, infamous one obviously with Schumacher, but Williams have never won a championship since. And part of that was down to the season as well ended. Adrian Newey left the team. He was placing garden leave midway through the year. He'd already agreed to sign with McLaren for 1998. And, apart from Villeneuve winning the championship the next year, this was the end of Williams' dominance. This was its ending. But this car was the last most dominant car that they had. So, quick look at the stats. Took a podium every race bar 2, one of them being Monaco, the other one being Monza. Took 12 wins and 12 pole positions out of 16 races, 11 fastest laps. They locked out the front row 10 times, and 6 of the races they finished first and second. This car for me is iconic as well because of the colour scheme as well, the blue, white Rothman colours. And I just love this car, I really, really do, and it was such a good moment seeing Damon win that championship. I actually got up in the early hours in the morning to watch it, and it was great, and it's what F1 is all about, and it is absolutely fantastic remembering it. I've had such fun looking back over this car as well, and you can notice that by how much I've talked during this opening period. But we're going to get on to the race now. It's 5 laps, last to first challenge, round Suzuka, where that famous race took place. Let's see how we get on today. So here we are on the grid, waiting for the 5 lights at Suzuka, one of my favourite tracks as well, along with Spa, and we are underway. Look at how minimalistic the steering wheel is in comparison to nowadays. About 4 buttons there. We're already up to 19th made up of place as we go into turn 1. We're degrading the physics there as we got stuck to the back of the car in front, couldn't do anything. And now into the famous S's section. We just sneak by there into 18th, understeering a little bit as we go through. And we're just going to follow carefully, he says, as he nearly rear-ends the car in front. And we're coming up the hill through the corner here as we go uphill. That's obviously infamous corner for all the wrong reasons, due to where Jules Bianchi passed away in 2014 with that awful crash. We're now into the Degna turns, Degna 1 and Degna 2. Under the crossover, obviously the only crossover in F1 is at Suzuka. And we head up to the hairpin. 1, 2, going to get 3 cars as we go through. Taking advantage of the AI being very cautious. And we are up to 15th already before the end of the first lap. Heading down towards Spoon Curve. Hard on the brakes, down to around about 100 miles an hour. And then down a bit more for the second part as we blast up the back end of the track. This is the club pits on the right hand side. This is where they start club races. We're heading up towards 130R. We're past that car before we even get there, so 14th before we get to 130R. Chuck it in, scrub a bit of speed off into the final chicane, the Casio chicane. Just avoiding contact there, and then we do have contact. We get a bit sideways, but we have held it together. And we complete first lap up in 12th place, so we've gained 8 places already by the end of lap 1 as we go into turn 1. This corner's brilliant if you get it right as well, especially if you get that first part right. And now we head back up through the S's again. The circuit itself, of course, for anyone who doesn't know, is actually owned by Honda, which made it all the more fun when Alonso gave that GP2 engine comment a couple of years ago. But it's been a mainstay on the F1 calendar since the late 80s, apart from a short period of time when it went to Fuji for a couple of years, around about the mid-noughties. I hate that word. But it's a driver's favourite. It's fast, it's flowing. The S's is, you know, real combination. You get one part right, you're going to suffer the whole way up. So it requires total commitment. 130R is maybe not quite as imposing as it once was, but it's still extremely quick and dangerous corner. Even coming up here to spoon corners, we dive up the inside and it's so much more speed, it's ridiculous. Even this corner's tricky. First part's a lot quicker, second part is a lot tighter. And if you get it wrong, you ruin your run all the way up towards the 130R and then into the final chicane. But I love this track, and I know a lot of others do as well, to drive on within these kind of games. A lot of the drivers love the track as well. So it is definitely one that I hope stays for many a year to come. As we dive down the inside into the chicane, we're now into the top 10 as we close the second of the 5 laps that we're doing here today. And we set the fastest lap in the process as well, 142. Car's very good, this car actually. The last Williams drove 2 parts ago was the FW18B, the most technologically advanced one. And I felt it understeered very much within the faster corners especially. So this car was a lot more forgiving. Bit understeer, but you know, nothing too major. And the engine's obviously got a lot of grunt to it as well. Best engine on the grid that year in 1996. Mercedes were only just going to start within the next couple of years getting the better of their French rivals in terms of the engine department. So we're all under the underpass again, stuck in about 10th at the moment, trying to catch up these ones. Really chuck it up the inside here, really late in the brakes, but was really confident with the car on the brakes. We're into 9th, a little bit wide on the exit, but we are away again, chasing down the next pack in front. But what's your thoughts on the car as we... nearly got the inside down the spin. What's your thoughts on the car though? I want to put some comments below. What do you remember of this car? Do you remember this car? That's another question as well. Do you actually remember this car? Or are you one of our, you know, a younger viewer that's not watched F1 till recently, as we just about hold on through 130R there. Very brave. Down the inside again. Oh, goodness me. You know, but I hope this series helps anyone who's not into the history of F1 as much, and other motorsports, because we're going to take in other motorsports as well once we've done F1. And to just, you know, learning some more about the sport and the cars and some of the stories behind it as well. You know, and if it is doing that, then, you know, leave a comment below, let me know, because that's the main reason for doing it is, obviously I enjoy it, but the other reason as well is that I want to educate people about the sport that I love, so to speak. You know, I want to let people know why I love it so much. That's why I make these videos as well. I'm cheating a wee bit there. Dead in the one. So if it is helping you and teaching you something new, please let me know below, as I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear all your feedback that you've got as well. And we do have more coming. The next part is on McLaren again. 1998 car is the next part. That will be live next week on Thursday around about 7-8 o'clock as normal. We're coming up towards Spoon. We've got one more lap to go after this. We are in 7th place. Can we sneak into the top 5 before the end of the race? Can we get into that top 5 places? 5 laps maybe just a bit much on most of these tracks to try and get into the lead. But I don't want to make it too easy. That'd just be silly. Through 130R, going to look to the inside but decide better off it. Too far back this time. Try and get a good run out of the chicane. On to the final lap. Someone stole my fastest lap. Not if not. It's always fun when you do it, especially if you do that online as well. It's absolutely brilliant. Last lap, here we go. Into turn 1, turn 2. Holding tight to the inside line. Keeping close to the car in front. Up through the S's. First part's pretty quick. Second part, shift down a gear normally. And hold it tight round here. Depending on your car, you might sometimes downshift here just to help the turning. We're going to go right around the outside and then up the inside there. Glad the AI seen me. into 6th place as we go up through the hill, up Dunlop, and head towards Degnas once again. Liberal with the curbing, but it's obviously enough that the computer's not penalising me. Run wide through Degna 2. It's cost me a bit of time with the car in front. Could have had a go into the hairpin there. Let's see if we can get a good run out of the corner here, turn towards Spoon, or do we have to wait for the last chicane to see if we can sneak into the top 5? Coming up to Spoon here, last time, hard on the brakes, about 50 metre mark there, down a couple of gears, then one more gear to help the turn in and keep the speed down. Let it run a bit wide. I always keep off that exit curb, so it's a nightmare. We've got to run on this guy as we come up the hill, and we are through and into the top 5 before 130R. Can we sneak 4th then? Can we sneak into the top 4? We're going to have a look. Oh, how I got that in there without a hit, and I do not know. But we have made it. I wish I could take the chicane like that all the time. There you go. But that's it, P4, and that is another video done. Thank you very much once again for watching. Hit all those buttons as I said earlier on. But until next time, I will see you again soon. Ta-ra.